February at Disney World. Love is in the air, but like Lightning Lane, love can be complicated. And like love, there's a lot of advice out there about February at Disney World that is just straight up wrong. And this February is shaping up to be unlike any in recent memory. Luckily for you, I have the data and the experience to tell you exactly what to expect. Because even if crowds may go down this month compared to the last few years, there's some major events that might mean wait times may still go up. So will February be your Valentine this year, or should you keep your options open? Hi, I'm James Grosh from Guide to WDW, and I'm back to give you your ultimate planning guide to Disney World in February 2026, which is a month that has a long-standing reputation as the best time to go for low lines. Now, February is genuinely a great month. The weather is amazing, there's the Festival of the Arts, the Princess Half Marathon, but for low crowds, this groundhog ain't seeing it. February is not the off-season for Disney World, and not by a long shot. In fact, it rivals December as the most crowded month all year. And unlike December, which has a very slow start and a very busy end, February has trended to have no downtime at all. This hit its peak in 2024, with every week in February landing in the top 10 for longest wait times. Now, this cooled off a little bit in 2025, and there's reason to think that 2026 may continue that good trend, with some promising looking weeks and surprisingly uncrowded days. Which ones? That's what we're here to find out. In this monthly series, I take years of wait time data, decades of personal experience, and the deluge of daily Disney news, and distill it all down to what you need to know for your trip. First, I'm going to break down all the news and closures that will have an impact on crowds and your vacation, including some first-hand tips I learned from going to the opening day of the Festival of the Arts. Then I'll share my week-by-week crowd predictions, including why one week in particular is the perfect storm for massive crowds. And finally, I'll reveal my February-specific advice about which days are the best to visit each park and which days to avoid, which is extremely useful for planning out your vacation. So let's start with a tour around the world with the news, events, and closures that will impact your vacation. And let's start with Magic Kingdom. Cinderella Castle continues its 1971-inspired makeover as the classic colors make their comeback. The castle painting is taking place daily in the morning, but all equipment will be lowered and moved out of sight by noon, which means a dual photo strategy depending on the type of person you are. If you want that classic castle shot with no cranes, save your pictures for the afternoon or evening. But I've actually heard from quite a few viewers who actually want to get their picture with a crane in the background, because it's unique, like a limited edition PhotoPass release. As for closures, Big Thunder Mountain and Buzz Lightyear remain closed for their big refurbishments, but will be reopening in the spring, each with major new elements. Disney is showing major progress on both of those projects, so those reopenings could be as soon as March. Once those reopening dates are announced, I'll be posting them on Shorts and social media. At Epcot, the Festival of the Arts is in full swing, and after attending opening day, it cemented itself as my favorite Epcot festival. You're just surrounded by sparks of inspiration, the chalk art, the artist galleries, the food. A standout new dish for me is the popcorn chicken and waffles from Figment's Inspiration Station at the Odyssey, a whimsical combination of savory and sweet. The Lorcana activities are new this year and, in my opinion, a must-do. You get a free festival quest book, which includes a free Archezia's Island booster pack, which there's no way I got that pronunciation right, and is also worth about $6. Big tip, these quest books have a daily allotment and have been running out as early as 11 a.m. or noon. Distribution is on the bridge between Spaceship Earth and World Showcase, and that starts at 9 a.m. So be sure to get there early to score your booklet and free cards, because you will need it for the two different activities. The first is the Ink and Find Scavenger Hunt, where you find oversized Lorcana cards hidden throughout the park. Hidden is a strong word, they're massive and very easy to find. And then you match the icons on the card to your map. There's also the Collection Quest, where you have to collect 4 specific cards. Your booster pack most likely won't have all 4 cards, and that's by design. Each quest book has a different set of 4 cards, so everybody is going for different cards, which encourages trading between guests. 2 big tips for getting started with this, especially if you're new to Lorcana like me, and trading sounds a little intimidating. First, to make sure you're doing a fair trade, look at the rarity symbol at the bottom of the card. There's a key in the quest book to show you what it means. Common, rare, super rare, etc. Most people will be happy just trading like cards for like cards. Secondly, there's a cast member trading board at the Illumineers Lounge in the back of Morocco. I started trading there and actually met a few other guests who were also looking to trade, and I ended up trading with them and having a really fun time. Everyone was really friendly, especially the Lorcana experts with their giant binders of cards. Each of these activities gives you a prize: a special edition Rapunzel card for the scavenger hunt and a Donald Duck card for the collection quest. You can redeem them at the Illuminator's Lounge or the Odyssey. Another can't miss part of the festival is the Disney on Broadway concert series, which takes place 3 times nightly at the America Gardens Theater. Now, each year has a grand finale, which usually has 4 performers singing together. But for the first time ever, this year's festival is capped off with 5 performers at the same time: Ashley Brown, Ainsley Melham, James Monroe Englehart, plus Susan Egan and Kira Bell Johnson, the original Belle on Broadway and the current Belle from the national tour. As a theater nerd, this is very cool. And this should be a really special performance, so I expect the demand for these concerts to be extra high on February 22nd and 23rd. Do you want to build a snowman? Unfortunately, the answer at Epcot right now is no, you can't, because Frozen Ever After is currently closed for a big animatronic upgrade. Disney says that the ride will reopen sometime in February, so stay tuned for details once they're announced. But this will have a big impact on lines, because Frozen is a very popular ride with good capacity. More on that in the crowd forecast section. At Hollywood Studios, it's your last call to walk this way down Sunset Boulevard and ride Rockin' Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith. February is its last full month of operation, as the Aerosmith version of the ride closes permanently on March 2nd to make way for the Muppets taking over this summer. Same coaster track, new Muppet Mayhem. At Animal Kingdom, we're not gonna make it. An extinction level event has finally arrived as the last remnants of DinoLand USA permanently close on February 2nd. Expect bigger than average crowds at Animal Kingdom on February 1st, which is the last day of operation. I'm expecting many fans to come take a final spin on a Time Rover and say goodbye to Dr. Seeker and Dr. Marsh. But I don't think Disney is going to be dropping a meteor on the land, because they will be reworking Dinosaur into an all-new Indiana Jones adventure. Resort-wide, there's a deadline coming very soon for one of the best Disney World deals I've seen in years. If you book between now and February 15th, Disney World is giving away free bonus days in the parks and their resorts this summer. 6 days for the price of 4. Meaning if you buy a ticket and room vacation package for at least 4 nights, Disney World is throwing in 2 free theme park days and 2 free room nights. A viewer told me that their travel agent adjusts their booking to this new deal, and they saved hundreds of dollars. Quote, "With the savings, it's like getting free park hopper, and I can now add a dining plan or more lightning lanes if I want to stay right at my budget for more magic." This deal is available for most arrivals from May 26th through September 15th, but you must book by February 15th. And to get the best deal possible, use the link on screen or in my bio to get in touch with Vacationeer, my official travel agent partner. Disney World has a lot of great deals going on right now, depending on if you're an annual pass holder, Florida resident, military, or even a Disney Plus subscriber. So a Vacationeer travel planner can find you the best price from all these different offers, plus handle the booking and dining reservations for you completely for free. And if somehow an even better deal comes up that applies to you between now and your vacation, a Vacationeer travel agent will proactively book you with that new deal without you having to reach out first. Okay, let's talk late night. Extended evening hours is the free perk for deluxe resort guests that lets you stay in the park 2 hours after closing. After a few months of jumping from park to park, the schedule thankfully goes back to its default mode this month: Mondays at Epcot and Wednesdays at Magic Kingdom. Personally, I love this predictability. And speaking of predictability, extended evening hours always makes crowds go up at that park even during regular hours, which will be a major factor in my advice on which parks to go to and which parks to avoid on each day this month. There's also Disney After Hours at Magic Kingdom, Epcot, and Hollywood Studios this month. This is one of the best bang for your buck values at Disney World if you want to go on as many rides as possible. Seriously, it's way better than Lightning Lane Premier Pass, in my opinion. You do have to buy an extra ticket for it, but you get several hours in the parks with extremely low crowds, and pretty much every ride is a walk-on. Plus, you get complimentary snacks and sodas. But the biggest resort-wide event in February is the Disney Princess Half Marathon. The event runs from February 26th to March 2nd, but the races are February 27th through March 1st. This event will have a big impact on crowds, but there's one thing about it that's very different this year than recent years, which I'll talk about in the weekly forecast, which starts right now. The first full week of the month used to be the mythical low crowd February people still give advice about. In 2021, it was the 8th best week of the year for wait times. In 2024, it was 9th busiest. Last year, it returned to moderate range, and that's where I'm predicting it will be this year. Animal Kingdom will get a pop on the 1st for DinoLand crowds, but I'm predicting crowds will be in the moderate or even slightly less range for the week overall. This would be my pick for the least crowded week of the month. The second week in February follows a similar pattern, but it's been ever so slightly more crowded than the first week in each year other than 2024. I think the weekdays will be a continuation of the moderate crowd levels from the week before until we reach Friday, because that is the start of President's Day weekend, which is historically the most crowded holiday weekend at Disney World. The parks will be very crowded starting Friday, and because Valentine's lands on Saturday, dining reservations may be extra hard to land that day, especially at Disney Springs. Now we reach the third week of February, and I'm predicting this will be one of the most crowded weeks of the year, because we have a quadruple dose of crowd drivers. It's the perfect presidential storm. First, President's Day. This week is one of the busiest weeks of the year. 7 years might be your wake for Guardians of the Galaxy, because this can be a Christmas-level week on its own. In 2024, it was the 4th busiest week of the year, and in 2022, it was the 2nd busiest. Plus, Tuesday is Mardi Gras this year, which causes a spike of crowds from southeastern states like Louisiana and religious schools that get this time off. Plus, our friends in the UK have something called Spring Half Term, which also lands on this week and I assume has something to do with calling cookies biscuits. Epcot Festival of the Arts has its closing weekend, including the mega Broadway finale, which should bring out the locals to the park. As a wait time data scientist, there's only one term for this: crazy banana bonkers. But it actually could be worse, because there's another event that usually falls on President's Day week, the Princess Half Marathon. But that's happening the final week of February this year. That's the first time in several years that there's been a buffer between the holiday and the Princess Half, and there's a chance that crowds may spread out between President's Day and the race. But my take is that the holiday drives wait times much more than the races, and the other events like Mardi Gras will more than make up for crowds in the third week. So I actually think that the Princess Half Marathon may act more like the Walt Disney World Marathon in January. If you remember last month, we saw that lines on Marathon Week were crazy high whenever it was close to New Year's, but more moderate when it lands later in the month and has a bit of a buffer from the holiday. I'm predicting that will happen with the Princess Half Marathon this year. Still moderate, but typically there's a mini late winter lull between the February spike of crowds and the start of spring break. I think that starts this week, and I would actually pick this week as the second best to visit this month. I think it's actually a sneaky good pick. But here's the big caveat I'll give. Even if crowds go down this month, wait times might still go up, especially at Epcot and Animal Kingdom. Frozen Ever After and DinoLand closing remove significant capacity from each park. The lack of Frozen is temporary and will thaw pretty soon, but Animal Kingdom's higher waits will persist until Imagineering is done building the floors, doors, and drawers at Casita Madrigal when Tropical Americas opens in 2027. Okay, you know the best and busiest weeks. Time to break down which days you should go to which parks. This is one of the most helpful tools for plotting out your vacation. I'll pick the best 3 days of the week and the 3 most crowded days of the week at each park. And if you want all of my recommendations in a format you can save and reference while you're planning, I made a downloadable February calendar with all of these crowd predictions. I'll drop the link in the description. It's completely free when you sign up for my newsletter. Let's start with the best and busiest days at Epcot. I'd avoid Mondays the most because of extended evening hours. That perk makes Mondays consistently the most crowded day at Epcot all year long. Deluxe Resort guests pile into the park during the day knowing they'll have extra time at night, and that pattern shows up clearly in the data. I'd also avoid Fridays and Saturdays. The Festival of the Arts pulls locals to Epcot on the weekends, and sometimes that just translates to the park feeling more crowded because locals are just enjoying the food. But that actually also affected wait times the last 2 years, with both Friday and Saturday having the longest wait times in February 2025. The best days stick to the middle of the week: Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Wednesday has been the lightest day according to ThrilldAta.com, coming in at about 10% below the monthly average the last 2 years. At Hollywood Studios, avoid Mondays and Saturdays. They're consistently crowded, and last year Saturday had 15% longer than average waits. I'd also avoid Fridays. The best days are Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. Like Epcot, Wednesday is about 10% better than an average day here. But at Animal Kingdom, we have the biggest day of the week swing of any park. Avoid Saturdays the most. Saturday has been the busiest day at Animal Kingdom 3 out of the last 4 Februaries, coming in about 23% above average. I'd also avoid Fridays and Sundays. And a reminder, if you happen to be visiting Sunday, February 1st, that's the last day of DinoLand, and lines for Dinosaur might be longer than the Jurassic period. But the best day? Wednesday is great at most of the parks, but especially at Animal Kingdom. It comes in at about 29% below the monthly average, a 52% swing from Saturday. To put it in Avatar terms, that's a Payacon-sized difference. And to put it in even more concrete terms, last February, Flight of Passage averaged 88 minutes on Saturdays, but on Wednesdays it averaged 54 minutes. That's a 34-minute savings on one ride just by picking a different day of the week. Tuesdays and Thursdays are also solid picks. Both came in around 10 to 15% below average the last 2 years. Finally, at Magic Kingdom, the days I'd avoid. Wednesday is the big one because of extended evening hours at Magic Kingdom. I'd also avoid Tuesdays, which has been in the top 2 for longest waits each of the last 3 years, and Fridays, which had the longest waits in last year's data. For the best days, last month's surprise pick makes a return, and the data is even better this month. Shockingly, Monday has become the lightest day at Magic Kingdom in February. And this is a dramatic shift. I usually don't like comparing just the wait times from year to year for a variety of reasons, but back in 2022, Monday averaged 48 minutes in February, and had 16% longer than average waits. Last year, it was just 24 minutes, 13% lower than the 2025 average, and half of what it was in 2022. I'd also pick Thursdays and Sundays as good, reliable options. So I hope your time at Disney World this February is true love, and I'll be back soon with another monthly data deep dive so the spring break crowds in March don't give you madness. But in the meantime, my next video breaks down some of the secret details most people are missing about Disney's free roaming animatronic tech. Future World returns in the very near future, so get subscribed for that. If you'd like to support the channel, get ad-free videos, and help me keep making stuff like this, you can join the Patreon for just $5 at the link below. This has been James Grosh from Guide to WDW. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you real soon. Which includes a Archesia's Island booster pack. There's no way I'm getting that pronounced. Which includes a You get a festival quest book, which includes a free James Monroe Eagleheart